What's going on, Nate? How's your neck? You're back.
It's all right.
Damn, look at him go.
I felt last week like 50 years old. I started rock climbing. I don't know if I mentioned, and I got a little overexcited and was dropping and not I was just dropping onto my feet and not tucking and rolling. And last Monday, I did it, and as I'm driving home, oh, my back's a little tight, huh? And by the time I got home, I couldn't walk. I went inside and laid down and couldn't get up. And I was like, oh no, I'm old.
Yeah. No, you're just an idiot.
And I basically, I know, but it's the thing, you could have done that in your 20s and been fine.
I don't know about fine. Long term, no.
I was not long term. That's what I'm suffering from right now. But I was fucking insane. I was basically unable to walk for 3 days. Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I think because I couldn't sleep right, now my neck hurts.
It's the worst when you are in the shower doing conditioner or something and you feel the twinge and you're like, oh, well, there goes my day.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't look left now. That sucks. I hate that. Yeah, there we go. Let's all do some neck rolls. If you're listening to this, go ahead and to the right. Up and all the way around.
It's definitely not as bad as it can be. I can move my neck. But it does hurt right now. Back.
Well, that's the thing that gets me is sometimes I think I'll have gotten away with something and then I'll be sore 2 days after. And I'm like, how does that even work?
Even your
it's I forgot to punish you.
Even your pain's delayed. Yeah, messed up. All right, well. Hey everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Rum and Cinema. I think we've now peaked. This is probably more than we've ever done combined before. This year.
Streak.
Wrap it up.
Yep.
This is our swan song episode. It's all downhill from here.
Black Swan song.
I got the details.
Oh no.
I don't know. There was a pretty good time in
early.
In 2023, 2 years ago. We did 12, 13. Okay. Jesus, we did the whole damn year.
Yeah, we did one a month, I think.
We were doing 2 a month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
We 24 and 8.
17. We did 18. We did
Wow.
18 until September.
Oh,
and
yeah. Then I had a kid.
And then we skipped one to December, and then we didn't do it for a year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had a kid. I moved. It's fine.
Yeah. Ben is just being real selfish.
I know. Who does this guy think he is?
Yeah. What an idiot.
We're about halfway there.
Yeah.
I'm as shocked as you are.
That's crazy.
Really were on a run in 2023. Can we do it in 2025?
The most listened to and viewed episode is the Detective Pikachu one, and I think we took a 6-month break after we did that. So built all this momentum to 128 listens in a week or two. And I was like, ooh, maybe we'll start. Dad killed it.
Detective Pikachu is a movie that I never ever think about, but every time it gets brought up, I'm like, that movie was good.
I know. It didn't make it near my top list, but
yeah.
Now that I'm hearing it again, I'm like,
my top 16.
Pretty good. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the movie Rumours, which was my pick, and I apologize. Now available on Hulu or Paramount Plus and Showtime. I'm joined by my guests Nate and Jake, as always, and later on we're going to be playing a March bracket movie challenge. We each picked our top 16 favorite movies. And we'll be going up against another list I found that I selected from that I think are movies we've all seen / movies no one else picked. And that'll be the fourth part of the bracket. And then we'll all face off to figure out who the ultimate movie is amongst us. But before we do that, Jake, how you living?
Doing great. was caught in the Nebraska 70-degree day into a surprise midweek blizzard.
Hell yeah.
And on top of that, I'm in a super weird state of mind from having seen one of the most bizarre films I've ever seen.
Mm.
Which, we'll talk about it when we get there, but man, it's, I just have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. Like, why did this get made? Why was it longer than 15 minutes?
I enjoyed my time watching it.
Oh,
but one
interesting.
of us did.
I can't wait for Jake to be the odd one out. It's gonna be great.
Let's put it this way: I have it below Amelia Perez.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I'm not that far.
Yeah,
I'm not as much a hater as Ben.
That's just spiteful.
I would rather watch Amelia Perez again than watch this again. It's the lowest rated movie I've seen all year. It's 3 out of 10 for me.
Wow, my goodness.
We'll get into it. Nate, how you living?
I'm feeling great because you guys got tricked into watching this movie, and I didn't have to be the one to do it. I tried to warn you, but at least now I haven't watched it for nothing.
The trailer looked good. The trailer looked very interesting.
So good.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
And like the people in it were good.
Yeah.
You guys quit watching trailers.
How am I going to know what movie to watch, Jake? I always watch one trailer for a movie, and then if I'm in, I stop watching the trailer. If I'm like a minute in.
You stop watching as soon as you're in.
All right, I'm out. Yep. And I don't watch another trailer about it. And then I go see the movie or watch it.
I feel like that's a lot of the movies that you guys don't like and I like, is you guys talk about how different it is from the trailer.
Yeah.
I had no expectations going in, and so I was not disappointed.
If I had no expectations going in, it'd still be 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of the few movies where I'm like, I had no impact on it. Like, no. I was excited for it for like the 3 moments they showed, and that was it. That was all that was in there.
All right, let's just get into it. I hate this movie. It is the worst movie I've seen all year.
So I would bring something up.
Okay.
Taylor has repeated her criticism that we've gone back into not explaining anything about the movie.
Well, yeah.
Like, we started explaining for a while, and then we've gotten to just being like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
This is the only movie, I think, where actually the description of the plot is like, yeah, these people are in a fucking gazebo, and they're talking, and then something fucking happens. It's not really that interesting.
Yeah.
And then they walk through the forest and be boring some more. And then they go into a building and be boring some more.
Yeah.
The end.
That's an insane take, because if you're going to criticize this movie, and there's plenty to criticize about it,
you
can't say that the things that keep happening are boring.
Yes, I can.
They absolutely
are
boring.
I can. Yeah.
There's an enormous mystery right off the bat when the guy comes back.
Yeah, and it's never talked about.
Well,
it's never resolved.
There are mysteries that happen that aren't talked about, but I mean, that one, kind of large. So that's the whole plot of it, is he comes back and he says he's been attacked by the bog
I think
body.
What we need
bog body
is Jake to explain the plot of the movie.
All right, Jake, go for it.
All right.
Like, give us a run through, like a couple minute run through.
Someone who liked the movie. Yep. That's how we'll do it from now on. Whoever liked the movie the best explains the movie to the rest of us. I think that's a good way to do it. Live production.
I'll take my shot at it.
All right, here we go.
If I start dragging, let me know, and if I skip something major, let me know.
All right, you're dragging.
Good luck.
Okay, so it's the G7, right, where the 7 most powerful nations, the leaders,
democratic nations.
Yes, yeah, right. So they're having a meeting, and it starts off, stellar cast, by the way.
Yeah,
you can definitely call it an ensemble cast.
Let's quick. Cate Blanchett, the guy who played the French guy in the start of Inglourious Bastards, is the French guy, and Alicia Vikander is in there too, and then others that I've seen but didn't.
The guy the
Game of Thrones
US president is Game of Thrones. Yeah,
Charles Dance.
Charles Dance.
Tywin Lannister.
Which they did.
I don't
funniest
know the names
thing
of anyone, but
the funniest thing was when they were like brought up his British accent, and then the Canadian guy was like, "No, keep moving. We got something else to talk about." That was the funniest part of the movie. Go ahead, Nate. What did you say?
Also the Japanese guy, if you watch Shogun.
Oh, I did.
He's one of the leads on Shogun, which is an amazing show.
No way. I didn't recognize that.
Well, I will say it's clear they're all like good, even if you don't like. I didn't recognize any of the rest of them or know them by name, but like the best part of this movie was like the casting of the countries was stellar.
100%.
It was really good.
100%.
All right, go on.
And the sound.
The G7 has they've gathered to discuss a crisis, the ongoing crisis.
I think for the sake of clarity and not stopping to try and remember or look up names, I will largely refer to the countries as their countries.
Yeah, I would too. Yep.
Yeah, so that's just going to be easier going forward, I think, for all of us.
Hmm.
So the 7 countries meet. It starts off with a lot of pomp and circumstance, right? They're taking official photos. They're, everything's very official, and these are the leaders of the free world.
Hmm.
And on the way, they also stop by this bog. They have these European bogs that perfectly preserve bodies.
Mm.
And they do a little photo op there too. They talk about the history of these bog bodies. Anyway, they end up convening in this gazebo for a working lunch, and they're going to come up with their like preliminary statement. As soon as everyone leaves them alone, right? All the people leave, so it's just these leaders, and they can start working together. We already kind of start seeing them kind of on a more human element, right?
Hmm.
Because for the first 10 minutes of the movie, they're the world leaders, right? But now we kind of maybe we start seeing them kind of being a little too emotional at times, or maybe some pettiness. The American president keeps drifting asleep, right? We start seeing like human flaws in them. And shortly, right, it's also kind of funny how, because they're kind of incompetent, right? They're trying to draft the statement and they're not doing a very good job. Some of them are trying, some of them are just coming up with a bunch of buzzwords. Well, France, he leaves. He needs to go for a walk. And then he comes back and he's just dirty. He's like covered in mud and he's scared, and he says he's been attacked. And according to him, tells the story he fell down into the bog and the bog body attacked him
Mm.
and he came running back. And everyone's like, well, you're crazy. It's probably protesters. They keep saying it had to have been protesters. But already it's kind of bizarre because we don't know what's going
Right.
on. And when he left, it was lunch, and when he
Mhm.
comes back, it's nighttime.
That is
And
weird. Yeah.
yeah,
Gone for a while.
I say that this movie, like this was the humor I was looking for, and they did get me occasionally when they said like he was like maybe it was protesters, and he was like that's what I first assumed.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And like
Yeah.
that they all like are so anti-protester is really funny.
The political satire is pretty funny at times.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, I just
It
we'll
could have
get
been
to it.
15 minutes and it would have been just the same.
Well, yeah, because they have like a lot of, because like a lot of their banter is weird because some things that seem very important they just brush off,
Mm.
and some things that seem super trivial, they're like huge deals to them. But so he comes back. He's like, okay, I've been attacked. They're like, okay, well, whatever this guy's talking about, bog bodies. Let's, we should stop this gazebo meeting. We should go get help. They they find out none of their phones work, and they can't find anyone around them. Right, all of their aides. They go back to like the main chateau where they're staying, and it's empty. Right, so they're all alone. None of their phones work, and it's now some eerie night, and like everything is kind of foggy and like really red and gray. The cinematography is kind of hazy. So they're trying to figure out, okay, how can we get help? We need to find our people. They have some arguments amongst them, but they decide, okay, Germany suggests there's a boat not too far from here, a couple kilometers. We'll go walk to the boat. So they're walking through this forest, and they're seeing weird stuff. And at one point, they come across a bonfire, and then they get closer, and there's people around the bonfire. They get even closer, and it's the bog bodies, right? It's first they're just kind of like dancing and gyrating around this fire, and they're looking. Well, they're like all just jerking off around this fire, and they're all just like watching, like can't believe what's happening. Are we, because I'm like, are they hallucinating? What's this that's going on?
Mhm.
And then the bog bodies, finish what they're doing, and the fire goes out, and then there's nothing there.
Mm.
And then so they're all looking around like, did that just happen to us? Like,
Classic med.
you still don't know what's going on. They continue on a little bit, and they come across one of them went off on his own to find the brain, right?
Yeah,
It was
well,
Canada.
Canada was what found Celestine, played by Alicia Vikander's lanyard with her name on it, or like placard, and some papers. And he was like, "Whoa, I need to find her," because they had a thing. And he runs out to find her, and he finds this big tarp over a giant brain. And he takes the tarp off, and then goes around the corner, and she sees him and is startled and is speaking a weird tongue.
Yeah. That was one of the funniest bits in the movie too, because first of all, they find this giant brain, and it's about a car-sized, like an SUV sized brain.
Subaru
Human brain
Forester
just sitting in
sized
the
brain.
forest.
Yeah.
Yes. They and then so they found her, and she's the head of the European Council.
She is.
And she, he brings her back, and she's speaking gibberish, and they're trying to figure out what is she speaking. And then because they're intelligent people, they're educated people, these world leaders. And so that, some of them are discussing like, oh, it could be this ancient language, it could be this one. And all of a sudden Germany's like, oh, she's speaking Swedish. That was the gibberish language that she was speaking.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, so that like adds another element, because now this Celestine is she keeps going on about the brain, and it's like the start of a new world order. And and things are changing, and we must obey the brain, and all of this stuff.
Night.
Yeah, talking about the Night Queen is coming. And well, they keep going. They finally find the ferry. They have to do some, goat and carrot and wolf problem to get across the ferry river. Anyway, so a few of them swim across to try and find help. In the meantime, Canada gets a text on his phone, which so far no phones are working, but Canada gets a text, and it's from this little girl named Astrid.
Who,
and Astrid's like,
just a bit ago, Celestine said is the Night Queen.
Yes. So he gets a text from Astrid, and Astrid's like, I need your help. I'm back at the castle. I'm 7 years old, and my parents are gone. Please come help me. And so they're deciding like, what should we do? We have to go help her. And Germany's like, wait a minute. Astrid is the name of this AI that's designed to catch child predators. And it pretends to be a child in need. It targets likely predators. And as world leaders, we are likely predators, which is funny because they just come out and say, oh yeah, we're predisposed to that.
Yeah. We're all Prince Andrew inside.
Yeah. And
allegedly.
So then they kind of have this bit where they decide, okay, if it's a little girl, they need to help her. If it's the AI, then they still want to go, because the AI will notify the authorities that they found a predator. So that'll be their way of getting help. So then they're playing this game of, okay, we need to text back this child so that if it's the AI, it thinks that we're a predator, so we're flirting. And if it's a child, she's not traumatized. So they're trying to find this balance of how they can text her back.
Great bit.
And
love that bit.
So they end up going back to the chateau, and yeah, there's another guy, and I can't remember his title. He's like the president of the EU or something.
Yes.
Okay, so he's the president of the EU, and he's back at the chateau, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are finally here. Yep, it's the AI Astrid, and she took over, and this is her world now." And then so they're talking. They're all in the castle. Germany goes and hands out these supply packs, these goodie bags. Oh, this is your G7 goodie bag. They have a shock blanket, they have some rations, and they all have a cyanide pill. And she's like, well, just in case.
And Italy's like, is this a vitamin?
Yeah. She's like, well, no, it's not a vitamin. But
we haven't gotten into how dumb Italy is.
Oh,
Italy's weird in this movie.
The newest.
Does a great job. Mostly is there. Italy, the running gag with Italy is Italy's just pocketed a whole bunch of salami.
That's right.
And he forgot his phone, so he doesn't. He keeps going, oh, I still don't have my phone.
When they get to this river or at the ferry, and they have to swim across to get the ferry, and he's like, oh, I can't go, I can only swim backwards.
Yeah, that was good.
It's like, well, what?
That was a good line. Yeah.
But so they're back at the chateau. They've been told, okay, this AI took over, and they've all been going kind of increasingly batty, right?
Mm.
And especially Canada. Canada's just really losing it. And Canada finally just goes up and he's like, I've got it. I've got our speech, the speech that they initially went to go work on in the gazebo. And he goes up and he starts reading this speech that starts off fine, and then he just starts talking about like weird marriages, and he just starts going off the rails, talking about these bizarre things.
It's all the little things that were in the other people's initial plans for talking, which didn't make any sense to include in the talk.
Yeah,
it was like
because
sexless
some of it was
marriages.
good stuff, but a lot of it was just this weird bullshit. But he kills, like, he's giving this speech, and he's like, he's giving this speech.
And he's doing it on the balcony while there's like plumes of smoke in the background, like obviously like the world's ending.
like we're talking this. We went all of a sudden. We're now in like a hellscape, right? Like there's things are on fire and
bodies are gathered below.
Yes.
Yep. So all the bog, like no one's listening to him give his speech. Like the world leaders are kind of like looking like, what is, but no one's like, he's giving his speech to no one. But these bog bodies all show up. They start gathering as he gives the speech, and they're loving it. And they start clapping and nodding along, and then they start just jerking off again like they were at the bonfire.
Hard.
And then so both the speech giver and the bog bodies reach their climax at the same time, and then the movie ends.
Yep.
Let's say I lost interest in this movie so hard, and the ending was what I was expecting based on the trailer. I was like, my review of this movie like spikes really hard at the final speech. It did make me laugh really hard.
The moments that were funny were very funny. I think it should have been like a 7-minute, I think you should leave sketch, and it would have been way funnier. But an hour and 45-minute movie did not work for me.
I think the big problem with the length is I was intrigued throughout the middle of the movie. And I was intrigued a lot by the mystery, right? Mm-hmm. What are these bog bodies? What is the brain? What's actually going on? Mm-hmm. But it falls off because that's not the point of the movie, right?
Yeah.
It's not a mystery. They don't explain any of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And because it's all a satire, right? And so I found it unsatisfying at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing that strikes me too is you being the person who did at least partly enjoy the movie explaining it. You did leave out big sections that were the most boring sections of the movie.
Oh, for sure.
You left out like there's at the beginning when they're at the gazebo. They're in the gazebo for a long time, and there's a whole thing about France or Canada. He's like almost the main character of the movie. His marriage falling apart, and
UK.
Britain and UK are fawning over him.
Or Germany and UK are fawning over him. Yeah.
Germany and UK are fawning over him.
Yeah.
And like he goes off into the woods. He has a love scene with Germany.
Yep.
Germany. Well, it's like a love triangle. Germany's fawning over him. He's fawning over UK, but UK says, "Oh no, that was a one-time thing."
Yeah. So like there's that whole thing. It's super boring. Like it's just so long. And as they're walking back, that's really long too. They're walking from the gazebo to the boat. That's very long.
Imagine like a Lord of the Rings movie, but they cut out all the pieces where they interact with anybody on the way to Mordor.
Yeah, and it was kind of a journey. And I agree, because I highlighted on the mystery points, which are the kind of the plot points moving forward.
For sure.
I for the first like 30 minutes of the movie, I did not know it was going to be some weird supernatural satire going on. I thought it was going to be some political drama.
Not knowing, what did you think was happening in those first 30 minutes? Like there were a few funny moments, but like not enough.
I thought for the first 30 minutes, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but it seems like it's just going to be some political drama of these world leaders and their tangled history, which by the way is why the movie is called Rumours. It's an homage to the Fleetwood Mac album.
Yeah, because
where they made this album, but behind the scenes of the album, all of these stars were all,
Lindsey Buckingham,
these bizarre love triangles and fighting and this and that, and
pretty clever.
Yeah,
pretty clever.
So I guess like having seen the trailer, I knew something weird was happening, but it's not clear like from the trailer like how weird it gets, I guess.
No.
And
Yeah.
I was expecting a political satire,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of what they were giving, just like at a slow pace at the beginning, where you're seeing them talk. Like a lot of the humor that I was hoping for that didn't land for me was them taking themselves very seriously and like writing this speech about the current crisis, which they never describe
Yeah.
what the current crisis is.
That's
And they're
see,
just like, we
think
need
that's
to.
funny too.
Me too.
I think it's really funny, and
Yeah.
it wasn't enough to carry this movie. Like,
That's
and it gets like the speech great at the end. There's also, I did get a laugh from me when, who is it? The big guy is, that's
France.
not Germany, it's France.
France.
France, like, he's kind of inept the whole time, and he hurts himself as they're walking back, and they're carrying him in a wheelbarrow, and he just becomes overcome with inspiration and needs to borrow her laptop and starts writing, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then finally, like, he finishes and he like collapses in exhaustion, and it's like a proposal to build
The world's largest
the world's
sundial.
largest sundial.
Yeah.
That made me go, huh.
Yeah.
But like that was like 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
It was so long.
The political satire is
And-
really striking and really like cuts with a knife and is really well done. But god damn it, they have so much fluff that's unnecessary around it.
so.
like-
I think
It's like an Amazon package
I-
that's like 80% packing peanuts, and then you get to the inside, it's like, oh, peanut butter, cool, dude,
What,
thanks.
what did I order? You
Yeah.
open it up, you start digging in. Oh,
Oh, here it is.
I think then from this discussion, I think it sounds like the biggest issue with this movie is it has too little of too many different things.
Yes.
The political satire was great. It's just there wasn't that much of it. The mystery was great, but they don't explain any of it, so it's not satisfying,
Mm-hmm.
right?
100%.
I did love the dialogue in the gazebo, but it was slow paced, right? If you made a whole movie of just them having lunch in a gazebo, but all of the writing was just nonstop the good stuff,
Yeah.
I
Would've
would
been
love
good.
that movie.
Yeah, it would have
I
been
would
good.
Right, when they were
absolutely love that
because
movie.
apparently Canada also has something going, like they don't expect to be real, like, oh, they were going to resign because they had a scandal,
Yeah, the insurance.
and then them
thing,
describing the scandal was
It's really funny.
hilarious.
So good.
Especially the US just being like, what the fuck are you talking
Yeah, they're
about?
like,
Yeah,
pure evil.
yeah. Because honestly, and when he said that, pure evil, I'm like, I cannot tell
Yeah,
how genuine he is about that.
100%.
Yeah.
It sounds like
So-
when people are listening to this podcast, they probably are thinking like, these guys kind of like this movie. Don't be persuaded.
It was not like, it's again, like I think back on the jokes that I liked and I laughed, but I did not enjoy myself.
the
sitting
highs.
Yeah,
the highs were high.
I think it's
Yeah.
easy for me because, with me explaining the movie, I only mentioned the good and interesting parts,
As you should.
and then now as we're reflecting, we're talking about the good and interesting
Yeah,
parts.
yeah.
But I also think we've covered about all of the good and interesting parts in the movie.
This is why we have the longest game today.
That's why we went 64.
Yep. Well,
Um,
and the March Madness is 64.
Mm.
You don't know.
Kind
that.
of
Sure.
Sports. Yep.
talk a little bit about the cast.
Yeah.
So Japan, Takahiro Hira,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I think his character suffered from, he did the least.
Yeah. He was back.
He was just there.
Yeah.
He didn't. Pretty much every other character had their own kind of running gag,
Yeah.
their own, by personality, I mean character flaw, right?
Mhm.
I think every character in this movie was largely defined by they had a big flaw and they had a strength, right?
Agreed.
And I think Japan didn't have either of those. He didn't have any major part to the story. He was just there.
Mhm.
So that was kind of disappointing. But I think all of the other characters, and not to say anything about him as an actor, I think he did fine. I think just the writing of his character was the weakest.
I agree.
Yeah.
Or at least the flattest. Like it had less
Yeah.
depth to it. Nothing. Yeah, you're right. He didn't really have anything to do. He didn't really have any say
Yeah,
in
like,
anything.
During the speech writing, he was actually trying to do his job and like be effective while everyone else was like doing their own shit.
during the speech writing, he seemed like the only voice of reason. He seemed like
Yeah.
the only guy that was actually there doing his job.
Yeah. He was like, it was like, if anything, I thought what he brought, and it's like not enough for him to do. It's just like him being kind of like a newcomer and like being like, oh, this is like, we're doing our job, and not realizing like none of them are there for that. Like,
So this movie then is it's pretty heavy political satire, right? And in some ways, it's very direct by these world leaders, the way they talk. You know, I think it's probably fair to say that the U.S. president is Biden-esque. He's literally
Yes.
falling asleep. But also kind of some elements of Trump too, where he has that big American patriotism, right?
Mhm.
yeah, it felt like they took like the stab at Biden for the contemporary, but then just like a general American nationalistic
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
joke
Rah,
of
rah.
just like
Yeah, so he was definitely a blend of making fun of kind of both sides there.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not going to claim to know enough about the politics of other countries. From what I've read, they all are kind of making fun of their own contemporary leaders.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, being
So and I believe that, but like
vaguely,
I said, I can't really
passingly
speak to that.
familiar, the Canadian guy seemed very Trudeau-y.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like
Embroiling
uh
scandal and
and kind of sexy and
yeah.
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 All the women just wanted him,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
so emotional and.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, what was the song he kept quoting?
Oh, it was Neil. It
It's
was
not
Neil
what
Young.
Neil Young does the Rust line, doesn't he? It's better to burn out
Yeah, better to
and
burn
to
out than
fade
fade
away.
away.
It is a Neil Young song. Okay. I thought it was you better to burn out than it is
Yeah.
to rust. My.
But so some of the political satire was very direct, right? It's just real world, these characters, the things they talk about, and that.
Mhm.
And then I think a lot of it was right as we get into the, you know, okay, now shit's gone crazy, and we're in this fantasy sci-fi, you know, wasteland. So some of it was very metaphorical, right?
Mhm.
And to a point, I think that I think the bog bodies are them.
Mhm.
Not them, but I think the bog bodies are also leaders.
Yeah, they
Because
mentioned.
one,
Yeah, they mentioned
yeah,
that early.
he says that when they're first showing the bog
Chieftains.
bodies,
Yeah.
and France, when you know he's kind of mansplaining, which is funny.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh,
because he
that was
keeps
so
interrupting
painful to
Germany.
watch.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
whole scene.
I'm writing a book about
and
it.
yeah, and so he's mansplaining there, and he says that these bog bodies were often leaders,
Mhm.
and they were leaders who failed, and then this is how they ended up. Well, then I think that comes back around because at the end, the bog bodies are the ones who are listening to that bullshit speech
Mhm.
and just loving it and applauding it and literally this, you know, the circle jerk of it all
Yeah.
of, oh, what a great job we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do think that the bog bodies are them, which I like. The brain, I don't get.
Don't get it.
I don't get they found this brain. I was all excited for the mystery.
I think it's like maybe the
Okay, so
promise of like AI.
I was gonna say, if they're directly connecting it to the AI, then maybe that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
It's just like
Their neural network.
worshiping the mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
and it was also
They
on their
tried.
way back when they decided to head back to the mansion. That Celestine, the head of the council,
Oh yeah.
she sees the brain again, and she runs over and she's like, "Oh, I escaped my captors and I'm back to you." Blah blah blah. And then she just decides that she's I don't know, she self-immolates along with the brain.
Mhm.
Mm,
And
yeah.
again, that's something I'm like, I don't get it.
Maybe we're just too dumb.
I don't know. I don't think we are. It won the
So
best Canadian film award.
so yeah, I think a lot of things in this film hit and they hit well.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of things in this film didn't quite land. And then there's also a lot of fluff in between.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
I agree.
But overall, the satire is great, but there's not enough of it.
Mhm.
The mystery I really liked, but then it's not really a mystery, so they don't explain any of it. So,
Kind of leave you
you know,
hanging.
well, yeah, and because I don't even. It's not even supposed to be a mystery. So all these things where I'm like, I can't wait to find out what this is. Well, it turns out it's some weird metaphor, and so there's
you're,
just no explanation, and
you're
I'm
not
like,
gonna find out. Yeah.
yeah,
I did enjoy the sound of the movie. The score was really fun. Like it made it sound. The emotions elicited from the sounds were really fun and like
yeah. And
funnily
I
timed.
think just the cinematography in general of like how they made this wasteland look.
Yeah.
I think that added a lot to just the setting of okay, they're walking through the woods and they have no idea what the hell's going on, and things get more and more. This all takes place in the span of one
Yeah.
evening,
Yeah.
I did
and
think
then
the green screen was very distracting in the gazebo.
Mm,
I had a hard time with that. It looked
I
so
didn't
off
notice
because
in the
like the lighting
gazebo.
on the people were so different than the lighting on behind, and it was just
That's so
it took
weird.
me
Why
out.
would they just shoot that on location?
I don't know. Maybe they did, and it's like weird
Mm.
lighting because of the gazebo lights, but it looked very not real to me.
maybe they did it so they could, because there were some weird transitions for time.
Yeah.
Maybe they did it so they could like easily go from day to night.
Yeah, they could have like
Mm,
just shot it like what do they call it? Empty plating, where like they shoot it without anyone there, and then they
mm.
superimpose the people in from another time, and then you can kind of like have nighttime. But that's I don't know. It's an interesting choice if that was the choice. Yeah, I give it a 3 out of 10. My least favorite movie of the year so far.
Oof. I reject the idea that it's worse than Amelia Perez.
I would rather watch Amelia Perez again than this.
Oh, that's so interesting.
That's harsh.
It's
I
a
would rather
long
watch this
movie.
again and try to like get something, like Google things as they happen to get things out of it.
See, yeah, that's another indicator. I think would I want to watch this movie again? No, but if I was watching it again, I would pick up on more things.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, you're probably right. But I felt like the longest hour and 45-minute movie I've ever watched in my life.
So they should have broken it up with some songs.
Yeah. Honestly, if they would have broke it out and said
Awful,
penis to
awful
vagina,
songs.
vagina to penis, I'm in. Penis to vagina.
All right. So, Jake, do you recommend that someone watch this movie?
I think if you listened to what we said and you're interested still,
Mm,
then yeah. I think if anybody just asked me, you saw Rumors, how was it? I would give them kind of that disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
The same disclaimer I gave. I'm like, hey, there's some great political satire in it. I was really kind of hooked on the mystery, but it has flaws. Do with that what you will.
Yeah.
I think some people would enjoy this movie, but it's certainly not for everyone. Probably not for most.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's good. It's a good point. Nate?
there you go. I was thinking, I was like, here's the thing. There's not a lot of great. I don't like most political satire movies. I
Mhm.
just think they're always too heavy-handed and like movies in particular. There's a lot of great political satire shows,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to think of a good political satire movie. I was like gonna say like, oh, just watch this instead.
Team America World Police.
Like, honestly, probably one
That's
of the best
last
ones.
best one I think I can think of.
Like,
Ides
I
of
don't
March,
know,
maybe.
a
but
little
that was more
Idiocracy.
like, yeah.
I was just talking about
The best man
Idiocracy the
or
other
man of
day.
the year or no. First Man, something like that. Whatever that one is with Robin Williams.
Man of the Year is one.
Right, Man
Yeah.
of the Year,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's hard to find.
I'd say, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I'd say like go watch Vice or something.
Yeah.
Vice is the vibes I thought
Veep.
this movie was gonna be. Veep, yeah.
Yeah.
Veep is like what I thought was gonna happen of just people talking very seriously and being stupid and ridiculous.
There's a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, just go watch
And
Veep.
this, and like we said, this had a little of that,
Yeah.
and what they did have was great, but just not enough.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, I'd rather watch oh shit, so bad at names.
Veep.
Yeah, Veep,
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
the crossover with I know Julia Louis-Dreyfus. The crossover with Arrested Development, Buster.
Oh, Buster. Yeah. The Bagman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just watch.
He's
just
funny.
Him and Veep. That's all.
Oh, what is his name?
Yeah.
Something.
Something too. He's good in so many things, but I can't think of his
is his
name.
name. Something. He's really funny though. I want to rewatch Arrested Development. I think. Been a
It's
minute.
about that time.
Tony Hale.
Tony Hale.
Yeah.
It's not political satire, but it's kind of close.
It's like absurdist.
What I've been thinking about watching is West Wing.
Oh, I love it.
It's so, and
Yeah.
I watched
like the exact opposite of this movie.
Yeah, I watched like 3 seasons of it, and then I stopped.
Yep. I think me and Abby are like 2.5 in.
Yeah.
It's really
We're
good.
actually
So
like,
good, though. It'd be
we
so
were just
depressing to watch
talking-
right now. Though.
I know.
Oh god, it'd be horrible.
Oh my god. We're watching X-Files.
We're
That's
like-
been really fun.
Need something like, we're like, what's a show like that right now? We're trying to think of like West Wing Newsroom, the next
Just Aaron Sorkin. The next Aaron Sorkin show.
Aaron Sorkin, and there's like nothing. Aaron
I
Sorkin
know.
gave up.
I mean, he did The Social Network. Studio 60 was meh. Sport Night was fine, I'm sure. West Wing, Farnsworth Invention, whatever the hell that is. Yeah, he really
So
doesn't
there's nothing
do
good
any
right now.
TV. West Wing Special. I could rewatch The Newsroom. This feels about right for right now.
There you go.
All right.
As you watch the death of news.
The death. I got a New York Times subscription the other day because whatever they're saying is democracy dies in the dark. Is that theirs or is that Washington Post? I don't know. Either way,
I don't know.
read a book, idiots.